So,
Let's see.
oh, I did it.
There we go. Didn't
So,
want to get through the end of the presentation without having something for you to share with other
yeah,
people.
thank you, Kevin. I do that sometimes, so it's the way it goes. So I'm gonna transfer it over to Kevin now, and he's gonna introduce himself. Kevin from Procore. So welcome, Kevin.
Well, thank you so much, and it is great to meet all of you. And yeah, just been a big believer in Fresno State for a long time. Worked with a lot of professors up there, and then I was just up in Fresno doing an ACE Mentor presentation, and I think one of the students said that he attended that one. That was a little bit more focused on sort of innovative technologies in construction, but today we're going to be talking a little bit more just about Procore integrations, the Bluebeam integration, which has been in beta since 2017. I don't know when they're releasing the full version of it yet, but I did try to sign you up for that, Christy. I saw you were a user in our Procore account, so I did try to give you access there. But just a little bit of background about me. I'm based in Santa Barbara, California. That's where I'm from originally. Went to UC San Diego as an undergraduate, was really interested in construction when I was growing up. But like a lot of people my age, I guess, there wasn't much of an emphasis on construction. It was more about engineering and architecture. And everybody, really kind of thought that in my high school, especially according to, career counselors and stuff, that construction was all about essentially manual labor. And so, I went into UC San Diego as a pre-med, and was competing against kids that slept in the library on a Friday and Saturday night, and got some pretty bad grades my first year. In those advanced calculus classes, and chemistry and organic chemistry was the straw that broke the camel's back for me. I did really poorly in that one, and physical chemistry was next, and that class was even harder apparently. So I'd done a lot of traveling. Both my parents are community college professors. And so we traveled all over the world. We did house exchanges, and then I've been to about 80 different countries. Just a real avid world traveler. Really enjoy international politics. So my second year at UC San Diego, I switched to international politics and graduated with a degree in political science. But was really, trying to find a job as a liberal arts major. It was really difficult. It took me about a year. There wasn't many opportunities. I mean, I see people in, some of the schools that I work with are graduating with, 6 to 8 job offers. There's a huge labor shortage in the construction industry in America, all over the world, really, I'm sure you're aware of. But I think the latest stat I saw was that we need an additional 430,000 workers within the next several years. And so I've just been watching people, jump into becoming a project engineer and then going the project manager route and making a decent salary doing something that they love. So if I had to do it all over again, I would definitely explore construction management programs as an undergraduate. I love the fact that technology has really come to the industry. It didn't used to be that way. And ended up getting my master's degree from Duke University in North Carolina. And so I studied global policy, worked in Cambodia for several years. I was doing more of like anti-corruption work. It was pretty unique. It was also a little dangerous because we were kind of against the government's corruption, and they didn't want us there. And I was 27 years old at that time, and I'm like, I am going to get killed here. And so I just wanted to get back home to California. And I was going to work for the State Department. I was took the Foreign Service exam. I passed it. I got the job offer, and I was going through the security clearance process. And then I was thinking, a lot of my friends were stationed in like Oman or someplace like that for years and years. And I thought, maybe I should go back for my MBA and see what the future holds for me there. So I dropped out of the process for the government, which probably was a good idea about right now. A lot of my friends worked for USAID, and got my MBA from the University of Michigan. But my kind of academic interest has always been in the intersection of utilizing the power of the business sector to affect positive social good. Public-private partnerships, nonprofits partnering with for-profit corporations to accomplish, great things. And so I came back to Santa Barbara after my MBA. I had never been so cold in my life in Michigan. Those 2 years, man, it was just terrible. I think it was like -20 degrees one day, and I'm like, I'm going to die here. So I came back to Santa Barbara and started working for an international nonprofit that did disaster response. My job was working on a partnership with Unilever. I'm sure everybody here has heard of Unilever, Lifebuoy soap, huge in India, um, Fair and Lovely. I was working actually with a Vaseline brand team, and we had a global social mission called the Vaseline Healing Project. So I got to spend Unilever's money and organize medical missions all over the world. So got to travel in Tamil Nadu. We treated, I think, 9,000 people for free. The Nepal mission, we brought in eye surgeons, and it was just incredible. Treated about 2,500 people, but medical missions in South Africa, in Chiapas, Peru, and it was just a wonderful job. And then I moved more into the corporate partnership side. So I was doing more fundraising and trying to get as much money for the organization as possible. And after a couple years, that got a little boring, kind of doing the same thing. And quite frankly, I don't like asking people for money. It's kind of awkward for me. So Procore had always been a big force in Santa Barbara County. Santa Barbara County is, we call it the land of the newlywed and the nearly dead. So it's people that go to UCSB, they get married, they try and stick around here. It's incredibly expensive in Santa Barbara. My parents got their house back in 1974, which is really the only foothold I have in the city now. Things are multi-millions of dollars, and it's where in Montecito where Oprah lives, and Harry and Meghan's kid goes to school. My friend teaches him. Actually, he has a constant bodyguard around him. So it's a very interesting place to grow up in. And then, I really jumped ship from the nonprofit world to Procore. Like I said, there's not very many industries in technology in Santa Barbara. It's really a hospitality and a retirement town. So I've been at Procore for the last 5.5 years. Have definitely learned a lot about construction. I started out on the Procore.org team. It's our social impact team. I'll take you through the slide presentation in a second here. But have been working to support nonprofits adopt our technology and utilize it in the field with their projects. And then I switched over to education about 4 years ago, just because I had so much experience, 8 years in school, got to know my professors really well. My parents are both professors, so it just kind of made sense for me to do that. So I really focus on our 350 college partnerships in 14 different countries, as well as I lead major partnerships with Apple Education, NCCER, the ACE Mentor Program. But yeah, Procore has been just a phenomenal place to work. I'll talk a little bit about the company culture at the end. And, if you guys are looking for jobs when you're graduating, definitely add me on LinkedIn. Stay in touch with me. I'm happy to set up an interview or a quick meeting with you to tell you more about the job, but I'll broach that subject in a second. Let me share my screen and we will get started here. Okay. And actually, I'm going to play some sound. So let me reshare my screen and click that. There we go. All right, let me put this on slideshow. Okay, so yeah, I really like starting out this presentation with just kind of a discussion of where we've been as an industry. Construction was one of the least digitized industries for years. And we've been around since 2002, and we were a real outlier. There was really very few companies there. Microsoft Project was one, some legacy Oracle products as well, but not a lot of construction technology, and technology wasn't adopted by the industry. So McKinsey and Company did a study back in 2017, and they looked at data from 1995 to 2015, so 20-year period, and they looked at all the economic sectors across the world. And they stack ranked them in terms of their productivity gains. So information and communication technology, media professional services, those had the highest average productivity gains over that 20-year period. Now, look all the way down here, construction, it is the second to lowest. In fact, it has only exceeded agriculture and hunting in terms of its productivity gains. But remember, just from that period of 1995 to 2015. And then the levels of green in this chart indicate to what extent that industry over that 20-year period has adopted technology. So you can see the highest performing sectors here. There's a pretty clear correlation. The greens, that's high productivity gains. And then construction, you look and see red and some orange, with all these different things like transactions and business processes and digital capital deepening, digitization of work, et cetera. You can see it's mostly all red and orange here. So that was really the landscape for a long time. That has really started to change now. And I have a graph of venture capital coming into the construction industry and specifically for technology. So when McKinsey did this study, in 2017, and they were looking back at 2015, you can see there was some venture capital coming into the industry. Procore was a venture capital funded company as well, but not much. Now, as you can see, the stats have grown tremendously. We're up to over $30 billion of venture capital. That is in 2023. Haven't been able to get the latest stats for 2024 yet, but I would assume this trend was just going to continue. And just as an example, when I joined in 2019, we had about 100 pieces of technology that integrated with Procore. Now there's over 500 different pieces of technology in our app marketplace, which is really phenomenal. I mean, I was on the partner team for a long time, kind of working closely with our technology partner team that fielded new technology, brought them on board, got them installed in the marketplace, worked on app integrations, things like that. And the team just, multiplied year after year after year because there was so much demand coming in. Now the problem really, unless you're running Procore or Autodesk Construction Cloud, is there's a lot of point solutions. So specific pieces of software, and we talked about this, Christy, you're running so many different pieces of technology, and each of those pieces of technology might have integrations with the other, but it's really hard unless you're really aggregating all of that data or running it through one system to come up with conclusions about how you're doing as a business, how you're building, how efficiently you're working, how effectively you're mitigating risk. But that's where platforms like Procore and Autodesk Construction Cloud come in. So it's really started to change. And then one other thing is, the opportunities in the construction industry are just, like I said, they're phenomenal. As a liberal arts major, my first job, this is a long time ago, back in 2020 or 2003 when I graduated from UC San Diego, I was really lucky to be making $30,000 a year. And that was not enough to live in San Diego at the time. But I was working for a nonprofit there, and I'm watching people go, get offers for $90,000 in California as a project engineer right out of college. And, they're probably making more than me as a project manager. So it's really phenomenal how the, just wonderful, chock full of opportunities, I'll call it, the construction industry is. So, kudos to you guys for pursuing that path, whether it's architecture, engineering, or construction. The AEC industry, it's just booming right now. And we definitely need more skilled labor coming into that industry. Of course, we have a very evolving construction technology landscape. You guys are probably all aware of all of these advancements, but the Internet of Things, how things communicate with each other through Bluetooth or Wi-Fi, augmented reality and virtual reality. I mean, we can hold meetings in 3D models, and I'm sure our friend from ACOM can talk about that too. But the HoloLens, the Vision Pro, really changing the game there. Cloud and real-time collaboration, that's where Procore, Autodesk really come in and play a big role. Autonomous construction, so drones, Drone Deploy, great company. 3D printing, game changer, reality capture, building information modeling, kind of one of my favorite subjects. And then we have artificial intelligence, which everyone is talking about nowadays. That is the number one topic that people seem to be focused on this year, and especially last year too. But I've talked to people that have used AI on a job site where they've trained different bots to be experts in a certain field. So for construction law, for example, they've trained a construction legal bot, and they've filled it with all sorts of information from textbooks, from data sources, and they've trained it to be a real authority on the legalities of certain things in construction. Another one would be an OSHA safety bot. So, my director was telling me about a project he was on, and the project site had flooded because of the rain. And so one of the subcontractors had put like a little plank across one of the puddles so that people could get through. And somebody wanted to check, is this OSHA compliant? Is this a safety hazard or a violation? And they were able to do that all with artificial intelligence. And so that safety bot was able to spit out an answer and communicate with all the other bots that the company had trained to trigger the legal bot to send a cease and desist letter to the subcontractor saying this does violate OSHA safety requirements. You can't do this anymore. And here's your cease and desist, your formalized letter of warning right there. Prefabrication and modularization. We can control for wind, temperature, and especially in like the Midwest in Chicago, where the temperatures are swinging so rapidly and it's just so cold, to be able to assemble things in a factory and then ship it directly to the job site. That's a game changer. And then advancements in materials. I mean, this could be its own lecture on its own, but I was just introduced to self-healing concrete, where anytime the concrete cracks, it forms calcite to fill in those cracks automatically. So it is an exciting time to be in construction, and technology has really just come in full force. That kind of brings me to, yeah.
Can I interrupt you for a second?
Please interrupt as much as you want.
No, I was really interested about this bot thing because I was thinking, this is like a total sidebar, but I don't know if any of you watch, and this is our podcast where we get sidetracked sometimes, but I don't know if any of you watch YouTube and you watch Ryan Hall, y'all. He's a weather forecaster on YouTube. And when he's not around, he has a little bot that runs his channel 24/7, and that little bot knows everything about the weather. And he doesn't have to be there, and he's gaining money on the channel because he's running it 24/7. And where I'm thinking this ties into construction is, can you imagine? You could have a channel set up for a construction job site and have that bot keeping an eye on everything that's going on 24/7, that anybody could check in at any time.
Yeah, it's phenomenal. I'll have to check that guy out on YouTube.
But
what a great idea, right? To get more impressions. Anybody can come in there, get an accurate forecast, and that's increasing his ad revenue and his user base right there. And he can let it run while he's on vacation, right? And in Tahiti and gaining all that ad revenue. And I think we're going to be having a lot of discussions about AI in construction. I think people are figuring out how to make sense of it all right now, and what it can do. And it's just going to be a constant process of evolution, and other companies adopting it and showing unique ways it can be used. And then, from there, inspiring other people to do the same or go above and beyond. But this generative AI is it's phenomenal, and it's just fascinating to me. But a lot of people, academics, professionals, are really figuring out how to make sense of it. And you do have some pushback from maybe some of the companies that I've worked with. The old guard, the executive leadership is like, yeah, AI is great. Everybody's talking about it, but I don't, how are we actually using it on a job site? Well, that's becoming clearer and clearer with these examples, and people are starting to realize, oh, this is really powerful.
Yeah. And I don't know, RJ, if you have, because you're in it right now, you probably see these things, but you'll have to check out the bot on Ryan Hall, y'all, because I was just like, man, you could, where we would have a web camera set up, you could have something like that set up, and they talk about the job in depth, all the time. So
yeah, it's just so cool. There's so many avenues to take that, and we'll see what happens in the future. But that's a great use. That's inspiring me to do something similar. I want to make that ad revenue while I'm in Tahiti. So, this brings us to Procore and our story. And I mentioned that we were founded in 2002. And, Autodesk was sort of an outlier. They obviously created AutoCAD, and that was a huge success. That was they went public in 1985. So, they've been around for a long time. But Revit came out in 2000. Trimble and Tekla were sort of a force in like the late 90s. And then, of course, we had in America the dot-com crash around 2001. And that was where, we realized that tech stocks were highly overvalued. Their PDE ratios were way high, and the market crashed. And so out of these sort of ashes, that was where Procore was actually founded. And our founder just announced he's going to be retiring after 22, 23 years. But he had been working up in the Silicon Valley, and he was a tech executive there. He had his own company, and it had something to do with like how healthcare companies use ERP integrations and like use ERP technology. And his company did really well, and his plan was to sell it and retire to Santa Barbara. And so he sold it before the market crashed, probably made a decent amount, and was building his dream house in the Montecito area. But he was having a ton of problems with his general contractor, just sort of being subject to time delays, cost overruns, just a lack of general information being shared. And he actually invented Procore as an initial tweak on Microsoft Project. Had a programming sort of background, so he knew how to do computer programming, and he had some team members that were willing to help him out. The first iteration of Procore was just a tweak in Microsoft Project that allowed you to share your schedule and photography and kind of do some basic communication functions like that. And they were all working out of a tiny office in Montecito. And it was really the little engine that could. It was a real success story, but it was not an easy path. We went through the Great Recession in the US around 2007 to 2009, and Procore definitely was losing some money during those years. And it was kept afloat largely in part by his venture capital funding. And got some, Series A, Series B funding from the venture capital firms. And he was really, close with a lot of those firms from his work in the Silicon Valley. Procore really started to take off as we emerged from that recession. We went from a team of, I think, like 12 people, and that was back in 2009. When I entered the company, we were at 1,600 people in 2019, so 10 years later. And one of the big advents of this was the iPhone came out. And, that was around 2012, 2013, increased Wi-Fi connectivity on job sites. And, we developed an iOS app right away. And so Procore started to grow, and there was really no great competitors. There was a company called CoConstruct, Builder Trend, but Autodesk hadn't really penetrated the construction market at this time. There was another company called PlanGrid that they acquired in 2017, and that formed the basis of their Autodesk Construction Cloud products nowadays. They've been taking over a lot of smaller companies like Pipe for submittals. And the big advantage with Autodesk Construction Cloud obviously is that other Autodesk products like Revit and Navisworks can feed into Construction Cloud, so you can do 3D estimating and takeoff from a Revit file and things like that. So we watch them. They're a very close competitor of ours. We have about 350 software engineers right now that are making process improvements to Procore almost on a daily basis. And I think we really credit our success to listening to our customers. And so, we always tell people at Procore, it's construction people doing software, not software people doing construction. So, a lot of our functionality is really based around traditional workflows, right? Like RFIs were typically handled via email. So we didn't want to give up that functionality and confuse people and make people have to log into software. But we wanted to give them the functionality to be able to retrieve all those RFIs or, create an RFI in Procore. And so we have unique email addresses that are assigned to every single project in Procore. So anytime you put like a question or you're asking a question, you can add that email address there. And Procore is going to pull in all that information, but it can all be done via email. The project manager can go into Procore and see, okay, we got some responses here. Let's close this out. So it's very much works in tandem with existing technology and existing ways of methods of operating. And that's, I think, one of the big reasons Procore has been so successful. Our mission and vision. Our vision is to improve the lives of everyone in construction. And one of the ways we do that is through our team, our social impact team. And our mission is to connect everyone in construction on a global platform. I work on the Procore.org team. So this is the Procore's social impact team. And we model ourselves after Salesforce.org. They had a big outreach to nonprofits, huge discounts for certain nonprofits, discounts for other, social purpose entities. And we really wanted to model our own social impact team off of them. We joined the Pledge 1% movement, which was connected with Mark Benioff, the CEO of Salesforce. And they gave us a lot of our inspiration as we were developing our startup team. This startup team really was founded in 2015, and it was with our first academic partnership with Cal Poly San Luis Obispo. I came on board 4 years later, and Christia, we talked about Miles here, but Miles was one of the founders of Procore.org, and we participated in these Pledge 1% events and really draw some inspiration and knowledge about how to develop a social impact team. So I joined Procore. We were a team of 15 people, and we had people managing our continuing education learning content. We had some implementation managers, and then there was me and my team that were on the outreach side. So we were the ones that were reaching out to nonprofits, trade associations, and educational institutions saying, hey, this is great software. You guys can get it for free. We'll give you free training. And that's how we grew our portfolio to over 1,000 organizations. We also support different initiatives, like we work with minority contracting organizations. So we give them discounts, steep discounts actually on Procore. And then we have a great women in construction initiative. We have a community with thousands of members. We invite C-suite executives in for quarterly webinars. Dr. Giovanna Brassfield, she's amazing. She usually is one of the executives on the call. She used to be from Flatiron Construction, and I know she's at a different company now, and I'm blanking on the name, but our quarterly webinars are called Foundations for Progress, but really view the lens of the construction industry from a female point of view, right? You have 9% of the construction workforce is only female, and about 2% are field workers are female. So we're really advocating for more women to get involved in the industry. So we do a lot of things. We're a team of about 7 or I guess 8 people now, but we have a really big mandate to improve the lives of everyone in construction, and we just do that in a variety of ways.
And Kevin, I'm just curious that women's group, those of us that are women here in the group, can we connect with you and see how we can be connected to that group?
Oh, absolutely. I can get you guys a Procore login and everything. And that's what you can use to join the Women in Construction group.
Oh,
Just
nice.
reach out to me afterward, Christy, and I'll get you all set up with that. And anybody else that wants to join, I just, need your email address. I'll put my email address in the chat at the very end, and you guys can send it to me, but I can add you to Fresno's Procore account. You guys can explore the software on your own. This is an open invitation for everyone.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, we're going to jump into the software just to do a really quick overview, but Procore is basically cloud-based, and it connects everyone on the job site, whether you're the architect, engineer, GC, specialty, vendors, everybody in one location to collaborate. And it's all cloud-based. We have a great iOS app. We have an Android app you can download. You don't even need Wi-Fi connectivity on the job site. Those apps have a great offline mode where it saves and stores the data. And then when you get back into Wi-Fi range, it uploads it automatically to the cloud so the rest of your team can view all that data. And then we're going to have main products here. So our pre-con products, it's going to be about bidding, estimating, and takeoff. Project execution, that's going to be, our bread and butter, essentially what we were founded on. But, working with submittals, RFIs, working with the drawings, as well as kind of trade level tools, right? The daily log, documenting any incidents that happen on the job site, like somebody slipped and fell. You can document that all in Procore and, take a photo of everything. And as well as, performing inspections. We have a full set of software products to manage workforce relations, so tracking crew labor hours, T&M tickets, and then our financial tools as well, managing change orders, contracts, subcontracts, vendor purchase orders. Really, it's a one-stop shop. And now is kind of what I want to talk about, our ecosystem, and we call it a partner ecosystem. I mentioned at first we had about 100 different pieces of tech that plugged into Procore or integrated with Procore. Now it's over 500. And that has really enabled our success. It has created this sort of parallel economy where there's companies that exist just to build different integrations between one piece of software like CMIC and Procore, or maybe more of an obscure piece of software to connect with Procore using our open API. So, ton of software engineering roles open. We're always looking for people like that with a technology background at the company. But that has really enabled our success, is the ability to take all of those integrations, run them through Procore, and aggregate all of the data. So you can see all the information all of these different point solutions are giving you, and figure out how you're building, what you can do better, what you can improve in the future. Let's go into the app marketplace here. This is a little kind of hazy on my end. I guess it's probably because it's the end of the day and I've been up since 6. But here's just some of our integrations. CRM, customer relationship management software, Salesforce, document management, and we'll talk about the Bluebeam integration here too. Scheduling software, so we integrate with MS Project, Primavera, P6, Power Project. A variety of different accounting software available. Sage Intacct is a really popular one. Sage 300 CRE is used by some of our largest contractors. We have a variety of analytics integrations, and then just drones like Drone Deploy, OxBlue, site cameras, things like that. So I'm going to go into the Procore app marketplace, but if you just search for app marketplace Procore, you'll pull this right up. But you can find all of our integrations and what they do, from bidding to commissioning to drones, estimating and takeoff. We have about 500 pieces of software that interact with Procore. Now, the Bluebeam integration has been around since 2017. And when I first got to Procore, I was under the impression that you could open up a drawing and open up a studio session in Bluebeam and mark up your drawings that way. It turns out the integration is really more for submittals. And it's been in beta for several years. I think we're kind of, hate to say this, we're on recording now, but we're kind of waiting for Bluebeam to, take some steps. And they already are, with creating cloud-based software and everything. And I'm really impressed with what they've been doing for the last year. They're really taking it sort of to the next level, so cloud-based app, iOS functionality. But here's the Bluebeam integration, and we have one of our product engineers talking about this. I reached out to Bluebeam integration at Procore.com, and I tried to get this enabled for CSU Fresno's Procore account. It's been 2 days. I haven't heard anything back, but I'm going to follow that up. And Christy, I'm going to definitely give you access as soon as I can here. But here's what the integration essentially does.
With Procore Submittals tool. So admins of the Submittals tool, when they log into Procore and go and view an item, so here I'm on the show page, we'll have this blue banner with the sign in button. Clicking that will take you to log in. Once you put in your credentials, you'll allow us to access that studio data. Here you can see the example PDF with no markup, right? It's a lighting fixture. You can see I've got 2 approvers in the workflow. And now when I go up after I've logged in, that button changes to an Add Studio Session button. So I can rename the session, I'll add in the PDF documents, and invite the approvers from that workflow. So you can see there's that 9-digit review code for the studio session. When I click that, it'll open Bluebeam Review or prompt me to open Bluebeam Review. Now, once I'm in Bluebeam, what you'll see, once this loads up, you'll see that submittal example PDF, those 2 approvers from the workflow, the title, and the unmarked up document. So now I can come in the Bluebeam Studio session. I can make my markup, make comments. Here I'm going to add my stamp, approved. So I can go ahead and do everything I do in Bluebeam as I normally would, approve that document. Now when I come back into Procore, after I've started that session, there'll be a finalize session button. Clicking that will close the studio session, and we'll be pulling those documents into Procore. Obviously, we'll be waiting for the rest of the approvers to approve, but once I finalize that session, it'll usually takes about 15 to 20 seconds, if at most. Refresh that, and what you'll be able to see is now I've got my example PDF with no markup here, and then the marked up PDF from Bluebeam with my approved stamp on it. So that's pretty much the basics of this integration for now. One thing, some additional functionality we'll look to add in, the ability to rename that PDF document when you're pulling it back in, the ability to set up a workflow in that studio session. So if I want my submittal manager to review and stamp that item first, and then go to my approvers in the workflow. So a lot of potential functionality to add in here. So, and that's stuff that we're going to be doing throughout the course of this beta. But looking forward to get you guys started and hearing your feedback. Thank you.
So that's essentially the functionality right there. It's with submittals. I would think it would be really cool to have a drawing like functionality where you can mark up drawings in Bluebeam directly from Procore. Like I said, this has been in beta since it seems like 2017. So I'm thinking the momentum really kind of might have died out on this one. I would really like to see as Bluebeam becomes more and more it's very widely utilized in the industry, of course, but I know that they're taking it to the next level just from talking to my team. And I think that they're reinvigorating a lot of the product features. You guys are probably a lot more closer to Bluebeam than I am, but I think it's worthwhile to invest more money into developing this integration. And I look forward to seeing that. And I'm going to probably talk to some product managers soon to find out what the status of, is this thing going to be in beta forever? Or are we actually going to release it fully? And, what's the feedback on it so far and things like that. But that's basically how we integrate with Bluebeam there. So
And Kevin,
any questions?
Yeah, I was gonna say that RJ and anybody that has been working out on internships and stuff, you can comment as well. But this is a great example of you might get on a project and they decide that they're going to use Procore, and you've got, and you're good at Bluebeam and being able to integrate the two and do it pretty quickly. I mean, that functionality is not hard. It's almost like being able to hyperlink out to a studio session and then get everybody to collaborate on a submittal. I wonder if it does the same thing, Kevin, on RFIs, because I know you can hyperlink to an RFI, like you can link it out, to an actual RFI form. If it'll link out to the same thing, you might ask that.
I did ask somebody that, and I don't think we have that functionality yet. And I was kind of surprised by that, to be honest.
Yeah. But in any of these things, even what we saw on Autodesk too, like for example, some of their things don't do everything. It's the same kind of thing, but being able to know that there's the possibility of doing this and being able to, collaborate together with another software is very important. Like I've been in the industry for 30 years using these softwares here and there and everywhere. And he can show me this and I realize, oh, wow, that's super easy. It's super easy. I've seen the submittal forms that they have. I know Bluebeam, and boom, wow. It was just a matter of me connecting the two and putting them together,
Right.
So yeah, I don't think, all of these softwares are not going to be perfect. Even Autodesk said that last week, and being able to be fluid in understanding how they might be able to connect, there's always the possibility,
Yeah, and there was one thing that kind of surprised me, and I don't come from a computer programming background, but it's when I first started at Procore, one of our kind of key objectives was to be able to link Procore accounts together and have an easy way to share data between two Procore accounts. Because as it used to stand, before we really started kind of conquering the specialty contractor and the project owner market, it was really used mostly by GCs. And the GCs would pay, for the license. And our pricing model is very different from Autodesk. You don't buy licenses with Procore. We charge on what's called the annual construction volume. So the amount of like dollar value that you're running through Procore. So if you're like a 25 million annual construction volume that's being run through Procore, we charge you on that annual construction volume, but you get unlimited user licenses. So all of our accounts come with unlimited user licenses. And so as a result, you'd have a lot of specialty contractors that would get invited to a GC's project. And at the very beginning, they didn't really know how to use Procore, but they didn't need their own Procore account. As Procore started to branch out into these other specialized markets, and we got, adoption from, people like Cupertino Electric and Rosadin, they were able to, say, hey, well, we really need to, even if Rosadin is collaborating on a GC's account, they need to retain that data. They just aren't going to work on either the project owner or the GC's account. They need to retain that data for their own records. And so, it was a big thing about how Procore could talk to other Procore accounts. And Autodesk was, doing the same thing, developing, its construction cloud, and they have Autodesk Bridge, right? So now you can link accounts, and you can also link accounts in Procore. But this took a lot longer than I thought it would take. But that's just because I didn't know the subtleties of how Procore talks to other Procore accounts. And, Autodesk, is having the same challenges we are with that programming. So, both of us kind of released our solutions last year, I think, Autodesk Bridge and Procore Connect. And, we're working the bugs out of it. And, our salespeople are kind of always touting that Procore has more functionality when it connects to another Procore account. But, for me, I thought, this would be easy and this would be something that would be easy to develop, but it took years, right? So it's just my lack of knowledge about how the software actually operates with the API and things. But yeah, that's a good point.
And RJ, did you have a question or comment?
No, I know exactly what Kevin's referring to. So
Yeah. I mean, some of these things, and I think the biggest thing right now is being able to collaborate effectively in a very digital world where, Kevin and RJ, we grew up in a generation where, you had to be out on the construction site and you had to walk from one trailer to the other. Where now, you've got Bluebeam or you've got Autodesk or you got Procore, and a lot of these things can be done in the cloud, and you can get everybody together, including the architect, who's always hard to get. Sorry, Alexis, but it's always hard to get a hold of, and get them on a studio session and get everything approved quicker,
Yeah, absolutely. And, just talking about how, we approach BIM, right? When I failed to mention that we became a publicly traded company in 2022. And, when you're venture capital funded, that's always sort of the name of the game. The venture capitalists have poured hundreds of millions of dollars into your company. They believe in you. They want to get a return on their investment. So they want to essentially take you public. Usually when a venture capital firm puts in a decent amount of money, they get a seat on your board, right? So that they can kind of steer the business in the right ways using their vast expertise of working with hundreds of other businesses. And so we eventually went public. And this made quite a few people, multimillionaires, to be honest. My manager in particular, was no longer with the company, but, he did very, very well. And he was 29 years old when we went public. And his wife is also working at Procore for the same amount of time. So he really, created a lot of wealth for individual people that had been there for a long time. But also allowed us to take on a tremendous amount of capital. And one of the things that the limitations of Procore had always been, we didn't have the ability to do estimating and takeoff. And so we essentially used some of that money to acquire a company. It was called Esticom. It was a startup, artificial intelligence-based estimating, so it can learn from what you're doing and make improvements on its own. And we acquired this company, and within about I would say 8-month period, we folded it into Procore Estimating. So we became, used Esticom and acquired the company, just like Autodesk acquired Pipe for their submittals process. We did that with Esticom for estimating and takeoff. Autodesk acquired a company called ProEst that we had partnered with before, but it was about acquiring different companies to build that functionality to become a leading product where you can essentially do anything in construction there. We're focusing a lot more now on paying and how people get paid in the field. We have Procore Pay, which is really debuting in the United States, and we'll probably take that international, but we're really focusing on the project closeout phase. Whereas Autodesk has always been really strong in, pre-construction, and they're focusing more on the project execution, which we've really got that one dialed down. So it's interesting to see how, having a competitor like Autodesk, it's like Coke and Pepsi, right? It forces you to innovate and to grow. And even though you're kind of arch rivals, you're still making construction and construction industries function better by being forced to innovate and be creative with your solutions. So one of the things that we did you have a comment, Christy?
Yeah, well, this is kind of like a side question, but Procore was a venture capital company. Are all the software companies like that? Is Autodesk like that? And
Autodesk went public in 1985. So they've been a publicly traded company for almost 30 years more than we have. A lot of startups tend to be venture capital funded. There's a
interesting.
lot more venture capital coming into the industry. I'm really close with the CEO of a company called Outbuild. They are a scheduling solution that is competes with Microsoft Project and P6, but they're much more user friendly. But I've watched them, raise their Series A round of funding, going on to Series B next. But yeah, they really have to get that capital to stay afloat, right? Series A is when you're trying to prove your concept. Now they've got several hundred customers that are leaving rave reviews. And now the challenge for them is a lot of like state government contracts mandate the use of like P6 Primavera
Mhm.
for their projects. And P6 is sort of legacy software. It's really powerful, but it's still legacy software. And so they're trying to displace P6 in the marketplace like that. And it's going to take some time, right? And as a
Mhm.
result, you need that capital infusion. So unless you're supported by an angel investor or really a wealthy founder, you're going to have to seek that funding through venture capital ultimately. And there's a tremendous potential in construction technology right now. So it's definitely a hot industry where there's a lot more deals being closed with venture capital firms for startups.
I just one comment. I put the VC company called Formwork Labs. Basically, I think it's called, I think, Built World, which is the original name. But they're basically a VC for the AEC industry, and what they do every year is they would take in 5 to 6 entrepreneurs, and they would make up the cohort for that year. And these companies, these startups, do need that funding, and they're also trying to solve the industry problems, right? So these are entrepreneurs seeing the need for solution for a particular problem, and
That's
so
And
amazing
see,
that they're incubators as well,
I was
business
going to say,
incubators.
we've got all of these students in here, a good majority of our students in the room tonight that are wanting to start companies in the industry and technology. So you need to get ask Kevin a lot of questions about how to go about doing that. But I mean, this is what I say. You can do anything that you want
you,
really in the AEC industry.
you'll actually see a lot of the big GCs like the Suffolks, who have their own venture, their VC arm, which they
Mm,
lead in the research, and like what Kevin said, they're incubators for new technology, and Turner also came out with their own VC arm.
interesting.
Yeah,
So yeah,
yeah, yeah,
that's trending right
absolutely.
now.
Yeah, and Microsoft had been doing this. I have a good friend that works for Microsoft's venture capital arm, and it's so cool to see this being run by big GCs now, like you said, Turner and Suffolk. I'm going to be really interested to see in the coming years how many other big companies start funding, other smaller tech startups as a way to augment their own tech stack. But you're right, Christy. There's a tremendous opportunity right now. It's really like strike while the iron's hot.
Mm-hmm.
Construction it's like I said, in the 5.5 years I've been here, 100 pieces of tech to 500 pieces of tech that integrate with Procore. I mean, there's just an explosion of construction technology. The market will get oversaturated eventually, but right now is the time. It's if you have specific expertise. I work with some guy who founded his nonprofit, but he's on the side. He's been a commercial drywall installer for years, and he knows all of the workflows and he knows all of the pain points. And he's sketched out a concept for a software for drywall. And I mean, how valuable would that be in the industry? I mean, this guy could make millions, right? So if you have deep knowledge of certain pain points that the industry is feeling and different workflows or processes, like attack them, go after that, draw out a prototype and shop that around and see if you can get any interest. It's really a great opportunity right now. And I really wish I had more of a background in software engineering and programming, because I'm just seeing a lot of my friends go out on their own and become entrepreneurs and do very well. Some inevitably fail, but you know, the AEC industry right now with technology, it's really hot right now.
Hmm. And who is, you said is Outbuild the scheduling software?
Yeah, yeah,
What's
yeah.
what's the owner's name?
Franco Gianquinto.
Oh no, it was somebody different. Because I know somebody that is like over here in Idaho that is doing something similar. And so there's a lot of things going on.
Yeah,
Like you
yeah.
said, yeah.
Yeah, and you know, just with even with Procore, right? Our strategy was we knew we weren't going to be profitable for 3 years post IPO. And
Mm,
you know, it's been close to about 3 years, and we're starting to generate free cash flow. But these huge industries, like Procore is just pretty massive, right? You know, 4,000 people. Um, we've known for a while that when we went public, we were not in this, that we're not going to start out profitable right away. We're growing our customer base and expanding internationally, and targeting specific GCs, you know, 5 core GCs in each region, instead of just sort of a growth at all cost phase. It's a very strategic phased approach, while at the same time cutting expenses and things like that to generate more free cash flow, to signal to the market that, yeah, we can become a publicly traded company, even though we've lived on private funding for years and years and years. But from when Procore was founded to when we went public was almost 20 years. So
mm,
obviously you're burning through cash at quite a high rate. You need that funding to keep going, and you need people to buy into your long-term vision when you're launching such a big venture like this. So it's been really interesting to see, you know, who we brought in as our chief revenue officer. He used to be the chief revenue officer of Oracle, you know, very,
mm,
very adept at managing tech growth and in different phases. And we're really entering our public phase and our sort of our mid-stage growth in that area.
mm.
It's just fascinating to see, you know, how we evolve and everything like that. The one comment I wanted to make about BIM was that it was a strategic decision where Autodesk has such dominance in building information modeling. It was, you know, we weren't going to invest hundreds of millions of dollars on our own to create a parallel BIM solution. So we have integrations with Revit, Navisworks. Now we've also started to branch out. Revisto's kind of coming up. Tekla Structures, which is really used, you know, mostly in structural steel and cement masonry. But we have an integration with them. They're owned by Trimble. But you know, even though we compete with Autodesk, we decided that, you know, building information modeling is really just something that we don't want to invest hundreds of millions of dollars of our own resources when Revit has been a standard since 2000, right? So we've created our Procore BIM. It's basically a BIM viewer. And I'll drop right into Procore right now into this BIM model. But you can see if I pull up the objects tab, this is pulling in from multiple Navisworks files. So we could hide, for example, architectural and structural and just see electrical, HVAC, and piping. And so it's meant to be a navigation tool where you can feed Revit files and Navisworks files into it and open it up. And you can fly around the model and, you know, drop yourself into a certain room. We can go to floor 3. This is a fun activity I play with a lot of like high school students. We have a BIM like scavenger hunt or whatever, but we can drop ourselves into the office here and look for, you know, there's 2 coat hooks on the wall. And we can measure the distance between 2 points like this, all through that integration. And this is really, you know, RJ can probably comment on this more. You know, Procore can be used to identify those clashes or coordination issues within a model, and then you can tag them for the responsible subcontractor to get them, you know, redeveloped, right? If you have like wiring where the electrician wants to put wiring where the HVAC person wants to put the air ducts, or there's any kind of clash or coordination issue, you can denote that in Procore and tag the responsible subcontractor to redevelop their model, and then refederate the models in Navisworks again and feed back into Procore. And then you can fly through the model here. And I always make myself dizzy when I do this, but great little iPad functionality here for iOS. It's like a video game controller stick right there. But yeah, it's really cool. But it does illustrate a different approach with our technology. Sometimes it's just not worth it trying to supplant an industry standard like Revit. we just didn't want to invest the money in it. And it's much easier to integrate, even though we're competitors with them. So I think that's always kind of cool. And it was definitely a strategic business decision. But we're always, developing BIM and taking it, one level at a time. And I've been watching more functionality come out with it. Let's I know we're kind of coming up on time here. This is a little bit basic, just talking about our what construction project management software is. Really, it's just, software to manage construction projects. And Autodesk is our biggest competitor. We don't really compete so much in the small to mid-sized residential markets. That is more for Buildertrend. Buildertrend is pretty popular there. eSub is specialty contractor software. We loosely compete with it. And then we have some Trimble products that we compete with, especially their estimating modules and such. But it's really a broad category of software, really to manage the pre-con, the project execution, and closeout phases. That's really the commonalities there. I'm going to drop into the actual software here, and I'll just show you my demo account. Get out of this one and let me log out. I'll log back in to our team's demo account. And I'll go into, let's see. These are all the accounts that I've been added to. There's quite a lot of them. My job, incidentally, is to globalize the academic program this year. So I'm working with universities in the United Kingdom and Ireland, Technological University of Dublin. They are a part of ASC Region 8, and they're bringing American teams over for their competition in Dublin. Was just there in November. Christy, if you're close with the competition organizers for any ASC events, I can connect you with the Region 8 director. She is wonderful, and it is a great opportunity. We had Cal Poly, we had Cal State Chico, and we had Auburn University and Boise State. And they all came out and formed teams with their counterparts, either TU Dublin, University of Limerick, a Czech technological university, and it was a wonderful experience for the students to work alongside their European counterparts. And man, Dublin is just a fun city. They all had a great time, but it's really, she's really trying to expand Region 8. So if you ever want to put me in touch, I would love to connect that person with the Region 8 director there. Okay, so I've opened my team's demo account right now, and we're looking at the company level view of Procore. So this is going to be all of our active projects across our entire company. It's really easy to inactivate a project. We give unlimited cloud-based storage with our account, so you can really inactivate a project and still save the data, reactivate it later. Nothing ever gets really deleted there. We can view these projects on a list. We are looking right now at just the thumbnail view. We can view them on a map, but I'm going to click into the overview view here and show you what this is doing. But this is going to give you basically a project manager's bird's eye view of all of your projects across your entire portfolio. So it's going to assign everything sort of a general health score. So anything that is in red is going to be overdue. Anything that's gold is due within the next 7 days. Anything green is further than a week out. So we can click into an RFI here on this Habitat Home project and see what that was, and actually click into it to take us into the RFIs tool. And this is my old manager back in 2019. I doubt anyone's going to answer that at this point. I think we're pretty overdue on that by about 6 years. But it basically just sort of shows you as a project manager where your projects are at, what things are overdue, what things are coming up. So I'll click into the Staples Center right here. And this is going to take us to the project level view in Procore. So two types of project architecture, the company level view, the project level view. We'll have our project messaging up at the top here. You can put anything you'd like. Our project team down here. That same general health score we just saw across the company level, we'll see it for this particular project. And then any items that have been assigned to us will show up under My Open Items. So, usually with Procore, you get something assigned to you, you'll get an email notification. That's kind of a default. Of course, you can turn that off. And, a lot of Procore and Construction Cloud from Autodesk, it's really customizable. But then all of your personal checklist will show up right there when you log into that particular project. Other kind of cool things are when you put in the project's address here, Procore is going to pull a weather reading from the National Weather Service into your daily log every 3 hours just by default. So we have automated a lot of stuff that makes just life generally easier for project managers and people that are working on the project in general. Here's our tool list. And, when people see this for the first time, especially as students, it's like, oh my God, I have to learn all of these tools here. And the truth is, you really don't. You just have to kind of be familiar with some of the most common tools, depending on the role that you might want to be going into. But we have our core tools, managing your documents, adding users, doing a variety of reporting. The reporting feature on Procore is pretty unparalleled. You can do customized reports, pull in all sorts of data. Here's our connection manager where you could connect to another Procore account. And then, of course, do things like enable tools, turn them on or off, add cost codes, whatever it may be. Our project management tools, working with RFIs and submittals, and then things that are more on the quality and safety side. So, the trade tools like the daily log, inspections, digitizing any forms. If you have any quality assurance, quality control forms, you can fill them out digitally and everything's saved and stored in Procore. Our financial management tools, so working with the budget, change orders, change events, invoicing, resource management, all about tracking crew labor hours, T&M tickets. And then our pre-con tools, bidding and estimating. And here's all of the custom tools that, you can basically add a variety of custom tools. You can build them yourself. You can, rely on our tools or our app integrations, but they all show up here. And I know that, with Procore, when you see all of these project management things, it's, like I said, it's intimidating at first. But we do have some really great resources to make this easy. If we go to the learning portal, it's learn.procore.com. You can see specific tool training here. You could get advanced training, learn about product releases, app integrations. Here's our developer portal if you wanted to build an integration with Procore and display it on our marketplace. But the two things that we have that are really cool are our construction education courses and our product certification. So our Con Ed courses, especially for master's level students, this might be pretty rudimentary, but data in construction, so artificial intelligence, machine learning, staying safe on the job site. We've got a great Construction 101 series. It's more geared toward like high school students and like freshmen at community colleges mostly. We're coming out with a ton of stuff. We're going to be calling this Construction Academy, but within the next month, we'll probably have added at least 15 new courses here: estimating 101, financials 101, submittals 101, et cetera, et cetera. What I really recommend is the product certifications. And these are really cool because first of all, you don't have to be added to a Procore account to take any of these. You can click the orange sign-in button with whatever certification you like. If you have been added to a Procore account, you can log in with your Procore credentials here. If you do not have a Procore account, you can create a guest account right here. And you can sign up with whatever email address you'd like. It doesn't have to be a .edu. It's all free. It creates a profile for you on our learning management system. So whenever you take one of these certifications, you don't have to complete it all in one sitting. You can do 20 minutes here, 20 minutes there. And then we have the certifications for the role of like you're going to be working for a general contractor or a specialty or a project owner. So if I click into the GC certifications, all the tools we just saw, these are all going to be tool specific trainings at the top with a lens of you're going to be working for a GC. So, and then we have the suggested time link down here. I really happen to like the project manager, project management certification. I think that's one of our strongest ones. We have it for pre-con tools, financial management, quality and safety, resource tracking. And then we're going to have specific role-based certifications down here. Like you want to be a superintendent, an architect or an engineer, a specialty contractor as a collaborator, an owner as a collaborator, field worker, estimator, BIM manager. The one that I would really recommend is, especially while you're still in school, is the student certification. And we actually build this based on feedback from like our large, what we call enterprise general contractor clients and our large specialty contractor clients. And so they're giving us feedback on like, hey, what tools do people need to be at least familiar with? Maybe not experts in, but just familiar with. to, work at an internship at your company or a full-time job when you graduate. So we revamp this every year. This has just been recently updated. The curriculum's 3 hours long. In my mind, I've just recently taken this myself again for the zillionth time, but it's about 2 hours and 15 minutes I got through it in. But you learn how to, navigate Procore on a laptop or desktop or a mobile device, work with documents, our pre-construction things like creating a bid package and submitting a bid, just an intro to BIM and, coordination issues or clashes within a model, how to view those in Procore. And then finally, our project management tools, which is the heaviest content, I would say, on this certification. A quality and safety tools, that's about 20 minutes there. And, even if you're not going to use Procore's financial tools, it's only about 20 minutes of instruction. It's really easy to take. You just listen to somebody teach you. I can create a login for you all at your Procore account. I can create one for this BIM, this Bluebeam user group. I know it's it's Bluebeam Technology Group now, right? BTG, yeah. The cool thing about these is you'll pass a final exam, and this is true for all of our certifications. It's really not too hard. I think a passing grade is 80%. You can always retake the test. Then you can enter in your LinkedIn profile, and Procore will connect to LinkedIn and post your certificate of completion under your certification section of your profile. So, we've seen so many of our large enterprise clients are actually going into LinkedIn and filtering based on who has at least one of those Procore certifications. We do a lot of work with HIT contracting in the Washington, D.C. area, a really large GC in the mid-Atlantic region. And they, estimate that it costs, every new cohort of students, it's going to cost them like a lot of time to learn Procore and a lot of money on their end. And if students have already been trained in Procore or at least familiar with the software, they're going to be able to hit the ground running. And it's a real plus for companies to have people that are already familiar with some of the most common tools. So that's why I really recommend the student certification here. And then another great one, like I said, if you're doing a role-based one, like, an architect or an engineer, that's a good one. But the project manager, project management certification is also one of our strongest, I think. And this is really, quite honestly, where we have a huge leg up on Autodesk. Autodesk doesn't have the learning content that we do. And this makes my job a lot easier for, talking to professors and students, because it's like, you can learn Procore just from an online certification and post your certificate of completion on your LinkedIn profile there. I guess one thing I wanted to say is our company culture it's awesome. Tech companies in general, liberal work policies, everybody can be remote. You don't have to be located in an office or close to an office. There's no in-office requirements anymore, even though we have a wonderful headquarters in Carpinteria, California. That's just about 10 miles south of me here in Santa Barbara. We're right on the waterfront on this amazing surf break. It's a world famous surf break called Rincon. So a lot of people will go in, and take lunch and go surf out at Rincon. Dogs can come into the office. We have unlimited paid vacation, which is really a huge perk. I try and take advantage of that myself. Other people in sales roles where they have quotas to meet every month maybe might not be so lucky to be able to take all the vacation that I can, but I'm doing a 3-week trip to Tanzania in a couple weeks here. And, I've got my teammates to cover for me, and I'm not in a quoted position, but we have positions in, marketing, sales, software engineering, customer success, where you're actually working, and we hire people from the construction industry with those jobs where they're actually training their clients, large, small GCs or specialty contractors or project owners on how to implement the software successfully. And so there's a lot of great jobs. Our website is careers.procore.com. And if anybody sees a career or a job that they want or they would be interested in, we can see right now everything's remote. We have this all over the world too. Austin, we have a lot of Indian opportunities with, professional services, Dublin, Cairo. I'm looking at other ones. Yeah, a lot of in Bengaluru. I always screw up that name. And in Pune and Maharashtra. But yeah, 129 jobs, and we're always adding them. If anybody has any, proclivity toward wanting to work at Procore, hit me up. I'll put my email address in the chat here, but also add me on LinkedIn. And if you see a job that you'd like, hit me up and we can set up a 15-minute meeting anytime. I can talk to the hiring manager, find out a little bit more about the job. And then I can put in a personalized referral for you, which is actually a real plus. We're a very employee-based referral hiring system. So if I put in a referral for you, it really increases your chances of getting at least a first round interview. I can prepare you for, what they're going to be asking. There's, probably 3 or 4 interviews that you'd be a part of, but I can walk you through the process for the whole time and just be kind of your support guide along the way. So if you're ever interested, let me put my email address in the chat right now,
Hey,
and then
Kevin,
definitely add me on LinkedIn. Yes.
I was going to tell you, you're going to get like 12 people emailing you, emailing you tonight. So I want to say a couple things, and then I have a question. So he is not telling you, I mean, he is not lying that their office is the most amazing office that I've ever been to. I mean, literally, their conference rooms have views of the ocean. What do you call it? The ocean, like
Sweeping views of the
the
ocean.
sweeping views of the ocean. They have dogs in the office. They don't even have cubicles, if I remember.
No,
It's
we
kind of
don't.
like a very open concept. It's definitely a different environment, very creative. But the question that I have is a lot of our students here, not all of them, but a lot of them are coming in from a different country. And so are
Right.
you guys accepting people with visas?
Right, H-1Bs and sponsoring that. I'm not 100% sure, but I believe we are, especially for the right talent. And I know
Okay.
things are a little crazy right now with the new administration. And I mean, man, I so many of my friends from my MBA program were Indian specifically. And to try and get an H-1B, I mean, even before this administration, it was like 5 of my friends had to be put in a lottery and only one person got selected for that. So it was a
Yeah.
real, and it was heartbreaking because, these people had offers, right? But the company wasn't willing to sponsor the H-1B. I don't know what that involves, but yeah, I mean, we're a global company. And if we have identified the right talent, we will probably, go out of our way for that. And I can, double check on that because I know a lot of you, Nepal, India, but yeah, I mean, it is a very international company. I think we have 15 offices around the world right now, starting to develop a lot of teams in India as well, which is really cool. So within the country itself,
Interesting. Uh-huh.
lots of people that we're hiring in India, in Dubai, in London, Dublin, Canada, Vancouver, Toronto, Sydney, Australia, Singapore office, things like that. So we're a very global company, and I feel for you all that are studying in the United States, and the salaries are pretty good here in general in the United States, and it's been hard to watch some of my friends, just not be able to get that H-1B. But I just don't know where the program is going in the future right now. I think a lot is up in the air, and we're just kind of playing it by ear every day with the new administration, to be honest.
Yeah. Well, and we've had some issues just because a lot of our students, need the sponsorships, but and we've had a lot of students that have had internships that the companies have denied them the internships after they've accepted them
Yeah.
because of everything. So that's why I asked the question. But I will say, and this is why I've kind of encouraged our graduate students to consider, if you want to work for a GC, fine. But I think the place to be, and RJ and I both have been talking to everybody here, that, if you like technology and you're good at it, I think it's just prime time, for being, in this field. And I can say that I'm not sure where Autodesk's office is at, but
They're all over.
I was going to say, talk about the premier location if you wanted to go on site, and it's at Procore's site over there in Santa Barbara. Have you ever been there, RJ? You have?
I've been to Santa Barbara. I actually was there last week when I took the ACC call.
Oh, yeah, they're
but
right
but
off of
not
the
but
right
not the
off of
office
the.
though. I would love to visit.
RJ, anytime you're in Santa Barbara, shoot me an email. We can meet up. I can take you on a campus tour.
You would
We
love
can get our
it.
lunch.
All
Yeah,
right.
anytime.
I'll
Yeah,
take you
I'm
up on
serious.
that.
Just go down there and hang out with them.
Okay.
It's really cool. It really is. I'm going into the office tomorrow. We have free lunches on Wednesdays and Fridays. We used to pre-COVID have free lunches every single day. But yeah, like I was right by the espresso machine. There was like an oatmeal and granola bar in the morning that had like 25 different toppings.
I
The
remember that going down there. It's
the
like they
candy
have
wall.
free everything.
And I at the end of the day, I would just be like so like strung out because I'd be like, oh, I'll have another like cappuccino. I'll have another cappuccino. And people are like, you're kind of shaking right now. And I'm like, that's because I've had 5 cappuccinos, you know? It's like, oh, this
Maybe
free
what we
stuff.
should do, RJ, is during the summer, because I don't know, if Santa Barbara gets June gloom and summer
We
gloom, but
do.
you
June is
do.
not the June is the one month I would advise not
Yeah, I
coming.
was gonna say though, but we meet all year round, and these guys are not leaving. Well, some of you are leaving in the spring, so you would not get this opportunity, but maybe kind of like we did a field trip to SoFi and to Intuit Dome to meet up with RJ. Is it in the summer you guys drive down and meet up with RJ and you meet up with them at Procore's
Oh,
office?
you can absolutely open invitation. I can get you guys all registered. We could do a campus tour, get lunch. Yeah, it's
RJ's
really
like,
cool.
"Hmm."
Woodland Hills
Uh,
isn't so far away.
No, it's a heartbeat away, honestly.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
but
At
I would,
certain times of the day, at least.
yeah, yeah. I would really encourage for the folks here because I think what you'll see there the people working to solve really what
Oh,
the
yeah.
industry is trying to, you know.
Yeah. It's
So
kind of a remote, what I remember is it's a little bit of remote office, but the culture there is just amazing. I mean, it's just creative and it's really an experience. I can tell you and Kevin can tell you all we want, but you don't get to experience it unless you go down there really. So.
Yep, open invitation, I'll tell you for sure.
Yeah, that sounds like a great opportunity. It looks like Kevin, you put your email in the chat here. Yeah.
Yep, and add me as a connection on LinkedIn. I just added RJ, and I'm gonna add you
Oh,
too, Christy, and anybody
yeah,
else. So yeah,
that
please,
would
you
be
can connect with
great.
me that way.
Yep, and we the other thing is too is that we do the speaker series every single semester. And so we're always looking for speakers and it can be on like kind of like a overview of things like this, or maybe we look at doing RFIs or submittals or something like that, somebody that's really good at doing those kind of in-depth look. But we do this all the time. We're constantly looking for speakers, and we're remote like you, and so if we can stay in touch so that you guys can kind of get in our speaker network too, that's only gonna.
I would love to do
Yeah.
that, and I know that Drone Deploy would love to present to you
Oh,
guys.
definitely.
I've got some great contacts at Drone Deploy. Revisto, Daniel Buckner, one of my good friends. I know all the people at Autodesk too, even though
I
we're
know, me
competitors,
too.
and we're going to be on a panel together. It's really funny. It's going to be like Autodesk, Procore, and Bluebeam at the ASC International Conference in
That's
Calgary in a few
awesome.
weeks. So it'll
Yeah.
be fun. We'll see what we
what
talk about.
what's the panel on? I'm kind of curious.
It's just on construction technology. That is the only
Oh,
thing I know
neat.
about it right now, and I'm hoping they send us a little bit more guidance about how to prepare. But
Okay.
yeah, it's gonna be a good panel for sure. And
Yeah,
the ASC
I'm
International is just really fun.
I am
I
going to
know.
attend that conference, Kevin. So
Oh, awesome.
I'll come with good questions.
Awesome,
Yes.
awesome. Come with questions and make me look good.
I know Daniel Buckner from Revisto because I tapped him when I needed the Revisto licenses for my class. So
He's great.
yeah.
He's a great guy. Yeah, I've really gotten to know him over the last 2 years. We do a lot of co-presentations, and we're always at the same conferences. We're at
Oh, that's
ASC
cool.
events and the American Council for Construction Education events as well.
Oh, right on. Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just think as you know, you can see we're a smaller group, but we're very interested in technology. And so really kind of keeping our thumb on the pulse in a deeper way is just really what this group is about. And so
It's a very special group. I'll tell you
Yeah.
that. Yeah. You
Yeah.
don't find this at every school.
no.
No. Mm-mm.
And some days, like right now, it's so busy this week. I completely forgot this week was busy, but sometimes we get, anywhere from 15 people, all the way up to like 30, 40. It depends on the speaker, and it depends on the time of the year. Like our kickoffs are usually a little bit more attended. And
Mhm.
so, there's always that opportunity, but we'd love to have you come back, Kevin, because I think
Oh, absolutely.
it's just I know our undergraduates are kind of fed into this GC route, but our graduate students are wanting something, I think, a little bit different, to have a little bit variety of experience. And I think it's just, this series has been really eye-opening for them, not so much for me, because one, I've used Procore before, I've used Oracle products, but it's what I'm realizing is that once you know a few of these, it's very easy to move between them.
Oh, and that's what because there's Autodesk is really pushing Construction Cloud this year, and they've opened up the student access for it several months ago. And so professors a lot of times are, especially at like smaller community colleges, or they have a very small CM program. It's like, should we do Autodesk Construction Cloud or should we do Procore? And it's like, they're very similar. I have a trial version of Construction Cloud on my computer, and I've, knowing Procore, it is so easy to navigate Autodesk as a result.
Yes.
So you're learning one, you're learning the other, which is really
Right.
cool.
Well, and one thing I will say about Procore, because I've used, I don't know if you might be too young. I don't know if you know.
Did you use Prolog?
No, yeah, I've used Prolog. I've also used Oracle Enterprise. You remember when it was Enterprise?
Yeah.
That was like a nightmare, but anything Oracle is a nightmare.
It is. It's where software goes to die.
No,
We
I'm
always
like,
say.
anything with Oracle is like a monster, but once you've learned these, and it's very easy to go from one to the next. But Procore, one thing I would say, and I don't know about you, where did RJ go? Oh, RJ stepped away, but one thing about Procore I can say is that it's an excellent software, I would say, for like small to medium-sized company, and it's very intuitive, where Bluebeam and Autodesk Construction Cloud isn't as intuitive. It's more like the Oracle products, where this is very easy to just get in the car and go,
It's better designed. It really is. They've made a lot of improvements to Construction Cloud, but it still isn't the level of Procore, in my opinion.
Yeah, it doesn't have the intuitive aspect. For me, it's easy because I can, go in there and pretty much see like, oh, that's where you're going for this and that with the other. But it, for people that are just going into the industry, Procore is going to be much more intuitive, a little bit easier to learn. And once you learn one of them, it's very easy to cross transfer those skills, I think. Yeah.
I think it's important to have the exposure on all these software, because like I said, when Autodesk was presenting, is that at one point if you're that digital technology person in the company, you're gonna have to make a decision. You're gonna have to weigh in the pros and cons of each of these software, and see what's the right fit for your company. So it's good to know people like Kevin and Sophie and all the people you guys met this series, and because you can tap them, and when that time comes and you need to call them in and ask for information about the products. So.
And I doubt they'll go anywhere. They're just going to move to a different company.
I know. Yeah. It was like Sophie, right? Yeah. It's just like, well, now she's at Autodesk, and my colleague Kristen left for Drone Deploy. And, it's like
Miles is somewhere else. I'm like, where's Miles now?
We were on the VDC boot camp planning call for ASC, and it was just like, it was like a big reunion. It was like, I knew everybody on the call. It's like, oh, there's Daniel from Revisto. Oh yeah, there's Sophie. And it was hilarious. It's like, we just go from one company to the next.
Yeah. Well, what's interesting too is I would say, I don't know what your thoughts are, RJ, but all of us that are in technology kind of have a certain personality too, you know? We all get along well, you know, I don't know, it's kind of like it's like the technology mindset. And so that's why I've encouraged some of you, you know, to consider, you know, possibly looking into this as a career path in some way or another, you know, like don't let it go. Like, I think this is, to me, it's like if you're not on this digital technology bandwagon, you're going to be left behind. That's my opinion on it. And I don't know about you, RJ, but I mean, you could get by, but if you want to really excel in the industry in the next 20 years, you really need to be on this bandwagon, to me. Yeah.
I think solutions like Procore, ACC, the common thread that they all have is that connectedness to the internet and the web, and then providing that they call it common data environment, CDE, but nowadays there's really no common data. It's everything is connected data environment.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's just a matter of easily moving from one to the next, you know. The other thing I would want to say is that I'm really encouraged too, because I teach remotely. I don't teach in person. And I've done very well teaching remotely, both in having the bug user group. Our commercial team won ASC or not last year, not this last spring, but the spring before. And if you are good at what you do, there isn't any reason why you can't teach remotely and train and do all those things. Not everybody's good at it, but I'm encouraged because no longer do you have to fly necessarily to India to do training, you know, you can do it, you know, online. And as long as you have a good personality and you know the software well, it works. So that's
Yeah.
encouraging.
And that was really, yeah, coming to Procore, it was like everything we do via Zoom. And at first it was a little weird for me to be doing product demos on Zoom because everything had been done in person before. And then, you know, of course, COVID hit probably, it's like 9 months into my tenure there, and everything went to Zoom. And within, you know, just like a week or two of just constant Zoom meetings, I'm like, oh, this is easy, you know.
Yes.
It's great, actually, you know. And it got my mom, my 78-year-old mom, who's an adjunct professor at Santa Barbara City College. She can use Zoom to teach her students. And I'm like, if my mom can grasp that basic technology, like anyone can, trust me, like
yeah. And it's cheaper, you save money, you know. And I know I teach the entrepreneurship class, and I was telling them that, you know, as a project controls consultant, you don't need an office. All you need is a computer and a printer and maybe a few other little things, you know, technology things. So the overhead for doing a, you know, construction business with technology is way less than some of the other areas.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, now, you know, you can create a bot and you can do it all for yourself, you know, have the bot do it for you.
Yeah, and that's where I'm really like, it's just so interested in AI, and you know, I just
Yeah,
I do think it will, you know, displace some jobs though, when I'm seeing that, like,
maybe.
you know, you'll have like a construction law expert on staff or whatever, and now you can train them to be like a, you know, to digest every single textbook or construction law article, you know, written on a certain theme, and they become the expert. And you know, you can access this via a mobile app in the field and get answers just like that, so you don't have
Yeah,
to call anybody. And I'm like, that's great. Obviously it's going to be taking somebody's job, you know, eventually,
yeah,
but it's still like an efficient way and a better way to do things. And it's just an exciting time in the
yeah,
AEC industry with technology. It just really is.
for sure. Do you guys have any questions or anything? Don't forget, you guys, to contact him, connect with him on LinkedIn. And if any of you are interested in, you know, maybe doing an internship in the summer or going down there, we can definitely talk about that, or, you know, look into the whole visa process, because we don't know, you know, it's definitely an avenue to explore. And if you could let me know, Kevin, that would be great too.
Absolutely.
Just
Yeah.
ask. Yeah.
Yeah, and if you'd like to send me, I'll just, anytime shoot me a list of your students or this user group's email addresses and names, and I can
Mhm.
add them to a demo project in Procore in
Okay.
CSU Fresno's account. So you can you'll get an email once she does that. I'll load you guys up into a project. You'll get an email inviting you to set up a password, and then you can use that login information for any of our certification courses, and you can explore Procore on your own. I can give you the ability to create your own projects as well, so you don't have to like work in one specific demo account, and you can be an administrator on the projects that you create, which is
Yeah,
cool.
nice. Yeah. Well, we're definitely, I think this is great. I think there's lots of opportunities here. And I really thank you, Kevin, for confirming and accepting this offer to do a speaking engagement. And I really would love to have you come back too. So I
I
think
would
it's,
love it.
yeah.
This is like I said, a really special group. When I'm staring down like a 2 hour like speaking session at night, I'm always like, oh man, I've been up since 6. But you guys are really, really like
Yeah, we just
unique,
have
and
fun, you
yeah,
know.
it's really fun. It's a really fun group, and you can tell everybody's just really excited about technology. So anytime you want me back, I am happy to do that.
Oh, that would be great, Kevin. So the rest of you have any questions? We're about at time, so I don't want to keep all of you. Okay. And thank you, RJ, for coming as well. We really appreciate you offering kind of the industry side of things and sharing your experiences as well. And so I think at this point, we're going to just say thank you to Kevin, and we'll end the session tonight. And I hope all of you have a wonderful week. I know we have our spring banquet on Friday, and then the golf tournament. We have a golf tournament on Saturday. And so it's a very busy social week this week. And I hope all of you that are in Fresno have the opportunity to go to that, at least to one of them, and enjoy yourselves. Okay. So at this point, I'm going to turn off the recording. It's good to see everybody. And I'll stick around here with Kevin and RJ if anybody has any last questions. But otherwise, have a great evening, you guys.